Home is where the heart is. And that's the literal truth for others. Home is where the crows are happily flying around while cawing as if to signal the apocalypse. Home is where the sky is so picturesque that it look almost like it's painted on a canvas up in the sky. Home is where Lilith's heart was hidden away by the Bahari of the olden times and the same individuals that took that information with them into their graves. But just like everyone else who ends up in Alice Springs, you are just another one of those people who are lost in life who needed a break from everything else before finding a direction to head towards. The city is beautiful, but appearances can be deceiving. The city will devour you alive. But don't you worry. Your blood and flesh will fertilize the red sands and feed Lilith till the end of time. Now, should we begin the last story, or at least last episode of the story, with the Bahari's perspective? Let's roll the credits. Our final episode starts with a night sky that is amazingly clear from the perspective of a bird flying over the skylines of Sydney. We move up a few thousand feet into the air and a few thousand miles heading towards the center of Australia. A nondescript plane flies discreetly over the amazing landscape of Central Australia, and inside, 4 individuals, once again, unbeknownst to them, sat around a table. We have already met these individuals, but I will introduce them once again. We will start with Deacon Joseph Winters, the La Sombra on the run away from his own organization after being turned. Sitting next to him is Dasha von Lang, previously known as the Tremere Regent in another lifetime, but in here, just somebody who was past the promotion for somebody else. Moving on, we see a tall, inviting woman sitting at a table, amused at what's happening. This Laka is known as Lorna McIntyre. And lastly, Alice Barr, the Nosferatu who had lost everything, but is now back in Alice Springs, back where it all started. And here, we will start the story of the 3 daughters of Lilith and the son of Lilith.
Thank you for agreeing to meet on such short detail and short notice.
The location also comes as a surprise, I must say.
I wanted to be sure that there were no eyes or ears. If I can, I'd like to keep it that way. So, this conversation never happened. We never met. Are we all agreed?
So far?
Yes.
Agreed.
Wonderful. I've been spending some time trying to think how I would start this. I'm not particularly good with words, and certainly less so in recent nights. But please be assured that every word that I say to you is 100% the truth. I have no reason to lie to you. Who you are now? No, that's not right. Dasha, Lorna. Why do you serve the Camarilla?
Because the alternatives are the Anarchs and the Sabbat, or attempting to go it alone. I don't think any of those sound like particularly promising options, being as I'm neither a naive child, a bloodthirsty fanatic, or an imbecile.
I'd say that's fair.
This one has a way with words, apparently. Stole them directly from my mouth. I have some experience with Sabbat. I'm not interested in returning to the Sabbat. This seemed like the most powerful alternative.
And does the Camarilla serve you?
No, we all know who the Camarilla serves.
Of course.
There is an alternative. Cain is not the only option. And some might say is the wrong option. This is not going the way that I thought. Winters, maybe you can be a bit more coherent?
Of course, sister. Well, I guess there's really no reason to beat around the bush with it. Everything you've probably heard right up until now, you know, Cain this, Cain that. Forgive my language, but it's all bullshit. You've been lied to by everybody. And now you're with an organization that is just going to chew you up and spit you out. What's the point of being what we are if that's our future?
It's very bold of you to assume that we're unaware there are other options. We're unaware of this theory of Lilith. I'm interested in what it can do for me.
I guess the real question is, well, the first question, how much are you willing to suffer for freedom?
Define freedom.
From whom?
From all of it. From the Camarilla, from the Sabbat, from the Anarchs, which, you know, let's all just be honest, it's just Camarilla light. The humans that would hunt us.
Yeah.
It's a lovely dream, but I've not dreamt in many decades.
Okay, so that's freedoms from. Let's discuss freedoms to. Freedoms to pursue your own goals. Freedoms to come and go at your own behest as you so wish. Freedoms to carve out your own place in the world whatever that looks like for you.
Alistair, you're not saying a lot that doesn't sound like what we hear from every anarch that's attempting to get us.
Oh, please.
This is why I'm willing to listen to you, because I know that you're smarter than that.
Lilith offers true recompense for those who are willing to suffer the strength of their own convictions.
Well said.
Thank you, brother.
I want to know what kind of moves you're making. How do you think you're going to win?
I'm creating a stronghold for starters. Ousting the Sabbat.
Okay. Again, nothing I haven't heard from the camp.
Except I've got receipts.
And what is the end game? What's the ultimate goal here?
Bring Lilith back to the earth. Revere womanhood, fertility, creation, life.
Much of which does not tend to be in our nature.
And why is that? Because we are lingering under a curse. Cain is not the father of what we are. He is the bane of what we are. The first of Lilith's children, we were not like this. We weren't cursed with madness or whatever affliction, that grips our kind. No, we didn't fear the sun. When he stole what was not his to take, it cursed us all.
So you're promising freedom from clan banes, freedom from fear of the sun?
Freedom from everything that is holding us back. Things that we've taken for granted as just par for the course of being what we are.
I would love to see some proof of that, especially as, I was cursed by Tremere himself. Very different set of narratives.
I can walk in the light.
You can? Do you have proof?
How would I prove that to
Do you
you?
have a phone with a camera?
I'll take a photo for you.
Okay. You wouldn't have brought us all here if you didn't think we were going to ask questions.
Absolutely not. I encourage it.
So, this differs a little from the usual narratives of Golconda that are peddled around. I'm assuming the reasons for that are somewhat sectarian in nature.
Yeah. It helps to peddle a story if it keeps the masses compliant.
Just a big carrot on a stick.
And so you offer us, in place of a carrot,
Truth. Only truth. You can take it as you will.
Why us?
good question.
Of all the people I've ever met. I know you're receptive to this already. And
It's a statement made with confidence.
this is not the first time we've met. And I'm not talking about reincarnation. I know about Delilah.
What?
Because I've met Delilah.
Go on.
She came to our garden, and you were there, and you were there, and you were there. We fed her. We gave her respite. We welcomed her into our home.
Sorry, sister, but who is Delilah?
A child I sired many years ago and have been looking for since after the Inquisition showed up.
That is an all too common story.
You speak from experience?
I used to be one of them.
Very curious.
Look, we promise no lies and only truth. When I was a child, my parents were supposedly killed by our kind. A little story peddled by the Inquisition, the church. Not that my story is unique, mind you. That's what they do. They have a large number of orphans in their ranks. You can imagine that they have to get a little creative. But through lies and deceit, yes, I ended up working for them and I killed our kind. Tracked down members, Camarilla, Sabat. It didn't matter. All of you didn't know the difference. Man, pick one.
How many, Joseph?
Do you keep track of how many you feed on?
Did for a few years.
You have to remember, these are genocidal maniacs. There was no keeping count, but many. Until I saw the truth. Until the way of our Holy Mother was made open to me.
And was that, dare I ask, before or after you were embraced?
Or before. My state as it is now is nothing short of a blessing, a gift, a miracle.
Ahi hai lilito.
Aye, hi.
So is your sire also a member of this little group?
Truth be told, I have no idea who they are. But it is no coincidence that once I began down this path that this happened.
I see.
I feel no voice in my head. I feel no pull from any direction other than where I would go.
So you're saying that your connection to your sire is not as we usually expect because of Lilith?
In all honesty, I can't really say why that is. It could be that they are no longer with us. I can't say.
That's reasonable.
But we don't put each other into bondage here. We do not perform perverse rites of group slavery, even amongst my mortal congregation, nothing is done involuntarily. This is, as we said, this is going to be a path of truth for you, of honesty, and we're a family. You know, we look out for each other. We're not trying to fuck each other over for a few extra dollars here, or because we want to prove ourselves more extreme or more faithful. We are as one.
Okay, that sounds like a very standard religious cultish spiel. So I'm glad that you got that out of the way, got that off your chest.
I very much don't doubt that you believe it.
Indeed.
Whether or not that makes it the truth is...
I can absolutely understand how this would be a very hard pill to swallow. It sounds too good to be true, and you're right. Every religion, every faith spews the same shit, excuse my French. All I can say is if you come with us, you will see for yourself, and then you can make your own decision.
And if you choose no, you can absolutely leave. I will help you get back to Sydney, or wherever it is that you want to go.
From where you were deliberately vague on the destination of this plane.
Alice Springs.
Is this where this stronghold to which you refer is?
It is.
Stronghold in a town that can barely support feeding?
That's not a problem.
As I said, the faithful take care of one another. The congregation voluntarily offers its blood in the service of Lilith.
You say you know me,
I do.
so you should know that I've always done better on my own.
Wasn't always the way.
But you know that is a conviction I hold very strongly now. It will take a lot to convince me otherwise.
I should hope so. Your convictions are one of the best things about you.
How do you know us? Give
You've
us all-
already made this decision in the past.
Not that we're aware of.
No. How do I tell you that we have already talked this through? You've already joined the church. We went down a path. We uncovered something greater than the sum of us.
And then what happened?
Mages?
Okay. What kind of mages?
Would you believe me if I said Nephandic?
Virtue of the fact that we're all still sitting here? No.
Care to enlighten those of us who spend slightly less time with our heads in books as to why you seem a bit more credulous now?
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but from my studies, Nefandi are interested in only watching the world burn. They are hell-bent on bringing about apocalypse. They are pure evil.
I'm not as learned as you, so perhaps my understanding is a little limited. Suffice it to say that in this situation that I'm speaking of, there were 3 of them. One was, from what I understand, naive and childlike. I didn't know them so well as to be able to assess how evil they were. One was chaotic. And then there was one that was definitely evil. Pure, unadulterated evil. They all looked the same. I don't really understand how it happened. You were actually much better informed than I was back then. But my understanding was that there was a sarcophagus in a salt mine, and well, actually, you both opened it and unleashed something. I think it was these three, and the earth was starting to bleed. I know how mad this sounds.
I must say, Alice, I'm quite grateful for your scars, because if not, I'd be forced to wonder.
I know. Trust me, I've thought it myself. I don't know how to prove it to you. I can show you.
Where are these mages now?
I don't know. I retraced steps. I went back to the salt mines after, so things reset.
Okay.
Reset?
Reset.
We talking like Back to the Future stuff here? Like, forgive me, sister. I would never be so bold as to accuse you of lying or anything like that. But this is quite hard to believe, and
I know.
I know the irony of me saying that. But
So, Lorna and Dasher aren't the only ones that have changed. You were the head of operations for the Second Inquisition.
Promotion, lucky boy.
We used to play chess together in your office. Poorly, but we did.
yeah, I never was very good at that.
Neither was I, but it was fun.
With an Inquisitor?
It was sneaking in and out that was more fun.
So,
We purchased a house.
in this
This
economy,
economy.
that is unbelievable.
I had to liquidate some of my assets, but there's something there that is dangerous, but I think you need to see.
How come none of us remember this, I guess, past, if you will?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know all of the information, and I'm not the holder of all of the secrets. I just know what I've been told and what I've managed to piece together.
Been told by whom?
By you all. By Lilith, I guess. By a member of a Camarilla coterie who has gone through exactly the same thing. Well, no, different. Gone through their own trial and has had a similar situation where they lived through a reset. Everyone they knew was gone, and I don't know. I don't know what's going on, and I don't know how to convince you that what I'm saying is truth, which is why I'm not trying to be any more glib or verbose. I'm just telling you as I know it, and I'm hoping that when we get to the other end of our journey, that what you see will make more sense and you might be able to help me put the pieces together. You're very educated and knowledgeable and persuasive, things that I'm not. I don't know why I'm here and it's not one of you. Don't understand what happened, and I don't understand why it's me. But it is.
You mentioned a trial. Why that word? Was someone standing judgment?
I think so. We entered a labyrinth, all of us. And we tried to piece together a riddle. And we went through doors that unfolded in strange places that time and space didn't make sense in. And we were faced with, or at least I was, faced with things that I didn't really want to see or feel or hear. You lost an arm. Yeah.
Which one?
That one.
Oh, very interesting. It's my second favourite arm. Did I take it well?
You're rather attached to it. I don't think you did.
Oh, Lord.
And what caused this reset?
I don't really know, but there was writing on a tablet that said one, something about one. There can be only one. And when we reconvened, we were met with a tree. And I killed you both.
And that was the last thing that happened before this reset?
Storyteller.
That was the last thing.
Sorry, but why would you be killing these two?
Because there could be only one. There needed to be a sacrifice.
According to an evil, chaotic, childlike, all three at the same time but also separately mage?
The details are fuzzy. And I know that doesn't help my case. Dasha, you sacrificed yourself. You ran yourself through.
That doesn't sound like me at all, honestly.
I'm glad you said it.
Yes. Are you sure it was me? Okay. I suppose if I thought it was needed, I'd want to do it myself. That does sound like me.
But self-sacrifice wasn't what was needed. So I staked you. And then you asked me to stake you. Why would I lie about this?
Yes, it would make you sound.
Why would I invite you onto a plane and then tell you that in a previous life I had killed you both?
Indeed.
Fed from anyone interesting lately?
No.
Just try it.
Maybe I should. I'm going to do an insight check.
Yeah.
Be rude
I'm-
not to.
Assuming one hunger at this point.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
right.
Wit's an insight, right?
Yes.
And this is to tell if you're lying, so I have my specialty. Okay. Guess I'm going to burn a willpower.
We're off to a great start, ladies and gentlemen.
5 successes.
Nice. 5 as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Alice is definitely saying the truth, but you would know that she is lying regarding, like, I wish I could show you.
What is stopping you from showing us?
It would pull you potentially further away from that which tethers you to your humanity.
Yes, that does tend to come up in the more romanticised tales about Golconda and enlightenment and something beyond the curse of Cain. I tend to stop paying attention to them after a while.
That's totally fair. But, I mean, it's no lie that reminding ourselves of what it is to be human is something that keeps us in check. You didn't enter the trial, brother.
That sounds ominous.
You were whisked away by a fae by the name of Trixie.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Have I heard of Trixie, given that the specialty in occult that I have is for fae?
No, not the specific. Yeah, unless you've met her
Okay.
physically, no. However, Dasha definitely heard
Sounds
of
like
Trixie.
somebody has.
Yes. Very strange. She's never mentioned any of this to me.
I don't know if she remembers.
You haven't met her since this reset?
Have I?
No.
In fairness, you never mentioned being acquainted with a fae creature.
In fairness, we've met maybe in passing at One Elysium. You know what we're like in the Tremere. Need to know and all that.
I can think of very few things that you don't think you need to know.
Indeed. To share, though, something else. So, I am aware of Trixie. We have met. We have a rapport. Again, she's never mentioned any of this. She's never mentioned you. I know she has her own
Yeah.
business.
I've never met this Trixie.
Oh, what happened? Why was he whisked away by the Fae?
We went to a house to purchase it as a haven. And in his human form, Brother Winters ate some food that Trixie had made.
What? dumbass would eat Fey food.
I did ask the question myself. Possibly a little derisively, but yeah.
Okay.
It would seem that this Winters makes much better choices.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But having all just been talking about truth and everything, if there is a way you can show us this, you say it may put a strain on what humanity remains in us, but would that not just be truth through suffering? Is that not one of our core tenets? And we would share in that suffering as we share in everything.
Then in the light of transparency, would you both agree that Brother Winters could be the first to go, and perhaps he can
Thank God I'm
Shed
not
some-
wearing red.
shed
Go.
some light on this?
Where?
I would agree to that under certain circumstances. If you're implying that you can show this person,
I can return a memory or unlock a memory. I can't be certain what one is going to come back, but I can open a door.
at the cost of your humanity, and if you're willing to do that, to us this is all still.
I'll make a devil's bargain. You can choose whether your humanity takes the hit or mine does.
This would be something for myself to suffer. Well, I couldn't pass that on to another one of us, no. I would take that,
It's a great opportunity to gain learning through suffering.
indeed.
Well, it's a very charming moment and all, but to us, this could all just be part of whatever charade you've introduced us to. How can we know? Do you have a way to force him to tell the truth?
The truth? Not necessarily.
I can only really give you my word that I will not lie to you. Yeah.
And I've
Yes.
freely
It doesn't seem like a lie if they believe it, is where the issue comes.
Yes, if they do truly believe it. What a conundrum indeed. It sounds like you want this memory anyway, which would make sense. I might too if it was true. So,
It's a long flight.
yes.
Entertain us.
Yes. And I believe, if there's other physical evidence upon arrival of this garden that you've set up, or whatever it was, and even this house that seems to have survived the reset.
You
Is
did
this what you're
mention seeing something when we landed.
I'll take you to the house.
Why did that survive the reset, I wonder?
I don't know. I'm not an expert in occult matters.
We still own it?
I own it.
Okay. So some things have changed. You said we before, and now it is you.
We pulled our resources together. Now I own it.
Okay.
So I make the same offer to each of you, now or some other time if you so desire. And you can choose who bears the cost.
You will absolutely not lay a hand on me. As enticing it would be to see you lose a point of humanity, as you say, I'm awaiting the other physical evidence upon our arrival.
Perfectly reasonable.
I must admit that new experiences always make me curious, but after the decades-long blood bond I endured with my sire, I'm not really into having my head fucked with.
Again, perfectly reasonable. It's not something that I will force upon you.
How much longer do we have of this flight then?
It should be descending at any moment now. The seatbelt sign is on, but I don't think anybody cares in this group.
So, seatbelt, that's, 25. I'm going to take out a stake and perform the deflection of wood and doom after you've told me you both staked me. I will be preparing myself for staking. So, by performing this ritual, the vampire protects themselves from being staked. The first stake that would pierce their heart. Something, you'll see if you try it. Mm-hmm. So, I would have to do a ritual roll, which is intelligence and blood sorcery, yeah? Okay. Oh, shit, that's a lot.
While she's doing this, when you say reset, I'm assuming this is a skip backwards in time to replay. How far?
I went back, check my notes, 22 years.
So why now? Why collect us all together now? Why not? Well, in this one's case, it sounds like you were only embraced recently, but the other two of us have been around for that time. Surely we're not that hard to find.
Because previously, today was when we started our journey down the path to uncovering what was going on.
How did that journey start?
A conversation on a plane.
And how'd you get us onto the plane that time? Or did somebody else gather us?
It wasn't me. The previous winters,
The human?
the human.
We all got on a plane at the request of a human, specifically a human who was a senior figure in the Second Inquisition. Was I really that much of a mark?
He was working at that time with Dasha and I. And knew of that Delilah.
Was that Delilah also an Inquisitor?
My understanding is originally, yes.
I'm curious.
I had done some background research on her for you,
I appreciate it.
and we all worked together to stick it to the Inquisition, so to speak. Again, didn't entirely go according to plan, but that was kind of its own fun as well. Still, eye on the prize. We will land. We'll take you to the house. I will try and show you whatever I can to assuage any fears that you might have that I'm taking it for a lark.
I'm only half listening. I'm drawing a circle
Yeah.
and meditating.
Yeah.
Putting a splinter under my tongue and all of that. Yeah.
What's mine is yours.
Including, it would seem, certain memories.
Should you want them.
As the plane descends, and Dasha is busy doing her ritual, finishing it up, to know what's going through everybody's head right now. Starting with Winters.
I'm gonna need someone to call my daughter to pick me up. And also, what the fuck? But, you know, it's... We live in a strange world, in strange times, and we've seen many strange things. Why not time-traveling mages? If that's even what we're faced with. But, it opens up a lot of possibilities. One that definitely wants to delve further into this whole time travel or reality shift or alternate universe thing when he gets a chance. And also hands Alice Yolanda's phone number so she can call.
All right.
So I'm currently meditating, and I'm meditating on a few topics as this is happening, obviously mostly around guarding my heart against being staked, but other things are floating through as they do. Why did Alice not tell Winters of this reality shifting multiple universes before right now, if they are supposed to be in this cult together? What else am I thinking about? If I am presented with this evidence, will joining this group advance my other goals? And I'll just be thinking about what exactly I want to be advancing at this point in time. Probably the recent decision of a certain other Tremere being picked for regent over me. But also, does any of that even matter if all of this is true? And did it in the first place? It's really all about me getting what I want. Yeah, that's it mostly. And then, yes, just placing a splinter under my tongue as we're about to leave.
All right, Lorna.
To say that this is not what I signed up for, let alone expected, is a grave understatement. I know that Alice is intelligent, certainly, has her fingers in many pies, of course, but a manipulator, not her reputation. It seems quite clear that she believes that everything she's saying is true. Whether that makes it true or not is another question entirely, but she's certainly convinced of it. And most curious about the experience that Joseph had with this memory regaining, but also this humanity loss. It's something that I've tended to err on the side of, some would say, caution, others paranoia about the loss of, like many of my clan. And am quite hesitant to take what's on offer, despite the idea of a new experience, a sensation that I could never experience otherwise, being an ever so tempting fruit, so to speak.
Alice?
The overriding thought going through my mind is I've had 22 years to think about how to say this. How have I not come up with a better way to do this? What do I say? What can I show them? And what happens if they don't believe me? I can't do this alone. And I'm scared.
That's very reasonable. Fear is a very human emotion. And that just means that even though you're all undead, There's still some touch of humanity in you. And as the plane lands, the seatbelt sign is off, and at least the pilot has said that you've landed in Alice Springs. You may feel free to exit the plane.
I've called a learner.
Thank you.
Who flew this plane?
Chartered plane.
You seemed quite convinced, quite sure that we shouldn't speak of what happened, of what's been discussed to anybody. Do we have a way of knowing that they weren't privy to it or that they won't blab?
Not off the top of my head, but I do know that Dasha is very good at removing memories.
The fact that you know that. Okay. Yes, all right, give me a moment.
Is this something she tended to do a lot of in the past that is not the past?
I think that's why she was chosen to be regent.
Pardon? Say again?
You were Tremere regent. Is that not the case?
No. Recently passed over for that exact position.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Indeed. They'll all be sorry.
Maybe we can work on that for you.
So you're saying in this other timeline that was not the case? Interesting. Yes,
Who is regent?
Ugh. Petulant little youngling. Chloe Jamison.
Don't know that I've had the pleasure.
I'd assume that's because, like most Tremere, they tend to spend their time in their libraries.
Yes. Well, they'll have to learn that very quickly for themselves. Meanwhile, yes, if you want something done, I guess, do it yourself.
Unless there's another way
Another way?
to keep them quiet.
I'm already knocking on the pilot's door.
The pilot, at least the door opens, and this is a really young pilot.
Okay. I won't even say anything. I'll just immediately mesmerize. If they're human,
Yes.
I'll just say, sit down.
Lily sits down.
Yes, and then I will initiate. I'll make sure we get the right one this time. Lethy's kindness, right? That's the one that takes all the memories?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes. Lethy's kindness. Which, if it's contested, would be my manipulation or specs versus their intelligence and resolve. Should I be rolling that? Oh, do you want a page?
No, I've got it.
79.
Aspects. Yep. It's manipulation and aspects versus.
Yeah, intelligence and resolve I have here.
And since they're human, there's no contest for this.
Yeah, the cost is 1 house check.
1 rouse check.
Okay, that's all good. So then it's Did you say there was no contest?
No contest.
Oh, I crit anyway. It's fine. Everything's fine. I got a, what is that, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, yeah, I will attempt to extract the memory of ever chartering this flight with Alice and flying us here and meeting me right now as I entered.
Yep.
Yeah. And what it will be left is a ragged hole in their memory, which will probably cause them some distress if they try and recall.
Yes.
Yes.
They don't have video surveillance on the plane, do they?
Not gonna work, and when if there are any.
You're a Lasombra, right?
Yeah. Or the fact that it wouldn't work might be a bit of a giveaway to certain people.
Yes, I imagine this poor soul's getting fired.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And I'll just spin his chair around, close the door behind him, and we can all go.
I've called for a ride, but I've also got a vehicle just a little bit down the way.
A ride with whom?
Now, who answered your call?
Who did answer my call?
Ilona.
My daughter will pick us up.
Daughter.
Yes.
Is this like a cult thing, like brother, sister, daughter?
No.
No? Your blood daughter?
Adopted.
Adopted. Okay.
Before or after you embrace?
Oh, she's not embraced.
Question still stands.
Before your embrace?
Oh, before mine. After. It's a bit of a tale to tell. We can talk about it some other time.
Curious.
She's
enough.
gifted.
Gifted.
How soon?
Best we talk about it somewhere where there won't be any chance of being overheard.
I'm assuming you know such a place.
Yep. Kind of my specialty.
That's fair for an Nosferatu. Okay, so and we're waiting for this Ilona to arrive.
Just as you say that, Maxi Taxi actually arrives. Going down towards the strip before stopping nearby where you are. And the driver gets off, like opens the door. And you see this like 18-year-old girl with pink hair. And one thing you would immediately clock on, Dasha, is that this girl is not right.
Not right.
Cold, no emotions. Serial killer-ish feel, psychopath maybe. Most likely.
And you already mentioned that she was gifted.
Hmm.
So I might, thingy, sense the unseen, give me any indication of what kind of gift or not?
No, she's just human.
Okay. It's just a cold one. Interesting.
Here we are. Please.
Nice to meet you.
Ilona, this is Dasha
Yes.
and Lorna.
Hello.
Shall we?
Maybe joining us.
Presumptuous. Yes, we shall. So we'll pile into this maxi taxi.
Alright. As you all pile into the car with Ilona driving, the ride towards Alice Springs is not that long. 20 minutes max. And where are you heading, Alice? Towards the house?
Towards the house.
You say that we purchased it in this other timeline, but it's in your name now. Is that as a result of you going back to it and purchasing it, or were our names simply wiped from the deed in the reset?
Storyteller.
Their names was at least wiped. You at least know that in your pile of papers, the deed to this house was in your name.
When I came back to all of my papers and whatnot, you weren't on it. And so I questioned whether or not the sale had come through and this was just an artifact or something. But it looked like the title was just in my name.
Why this property?
We were led to it. There was an issue with one of my previous havens, and we needed somewhere safe, and this was one of the places that we found, and it had room for all of us, and it was the right price. I mean, it was a little pricey at the end of it. Someone kept trying to buy up all the property in Alice Springs, and so we had to offer more than the going price was.
That sounds like Saracen.
I was about to say it reminds me of a certain Sydney cider.
Absolutely was.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Interesting.
so he's a cunt in that timeline too.
I'd like to see his face while I stabbed him through the heart, quite frankly. No, sorry, that was a bit raw. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
So,
We probably all thought it at Elysium at some point.
yes, indeed. Do you know how much this version of you purchased the house for? Was there another contest with the prince in this?
I paid a lot
a lot.
for it. I put everything that I had into this.
More than what it appears to be worth?
On face value, yes, but I think there's something special here, and with your permission, I'd like to show you when we get there.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to text Leah, my contact, and ask if anything interesting happened at Elysium.
Ooh. Leah is going to message back. Depends on what you would term interesting.
Interesting to you or the prince? You know me well enough.
Well, new coterie has been formed. There's this overconfident Toreador baby, one of the newcomers.
Save me the gossip.
Well, they're all coming to Alice Springs because for some reason Saracen wants something there to be scouted.
Interesting. That is interesting. Thank you, Leah.
Always.
So, just on a whim, you mentioned the prince. We all apparently missed the Elysium.
Darn, what a shame.
Yes, indeed. It seems he's sent a coterie here. And he has interest in Alice Springs.
Did you get names?
No, I did not.
I will say, before we learn any more, I would bet what little money I still have left. It's Charlie, Delilah, Jen or some variant thereof, and Maxie. Now, hold on to that. And if I've proven wrong, so be it.
Now, Charlie's name I recognise. He's worked for the prince for years. Bit of a drinking problem, but we all have our vices. Delilah, though. My Delilah.
This is what happened last time. They were formed as a coterie and they came here.
Leah did mention a sassy Toreador, actually. But she's...
Now that could be any Toreador.
I know, and she's so easily overwhelmed by new blood. You know how she is, so...
All the nights to Miss Elysium. You understand that I'm going to be quite upset if, after getting in touch with you to attempt to find my lost childer, you bring me away from Sydney on the night that she turns up. It would almost seem as if you're not just holding back information, but attempting to keep us apart.
I can see how it would look like that. And I endorse your skepticism. And I promise you that's not the case, but they're just empty words. I hope that my actions prove to be a better scrap of evidence for you than just empty words.
So do I.
Well, yeah, if this happened last time, like you said, could it be that we're seeing a repetition of history?
So it seems like there are certain things that happen that may not be exact, but are close enough to be a repetition.
Rhyming rather than repeating.
That's a good analogy for it.
So, what happened last time this Camarilla coterie came here?
They caught the eye of the Second Inquisition.
Of course they did.
They breached the Masquerade. They ended up calling in their mage.
Their mage.
Theirs.
So of the three that I mentioned, one of them was with the Inquisition, one of them was working with the Camarilla, and one of them was my charge.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Camarilla did not actually realise they had a mage among them. Just
I
giving
don't
that kind of vibe.
think so. But as we've already established, Saracen is an arsehole, so who knows?
You've been here for 22 years.
Mhm.
You've done so much research, and you haven't found any of these mages.
No.
You said you went back to...
I retraced steps that you two told me you had gone through, and when I opened the sarcophagus again, there was nothing.
Nothing.
Those two. So while he was a human and in the employ of the Inquisition, he collaborated with a Tremere regent.
And Nosferatu Sabat
That you...
Templar.
Templar?
Well,
Is that you now?
some of the cultish lines are starting to, well, as we said, rhyme.
It was my initial employ when I was embraced, and it let me travel the world. I was chosen to serve rather than having aspirations.
I don't think I've ever known a kindred to leave the Sabbat. I understood they had somewhat strong safeguards against
They've got
it.
pretty strict policies, yeah. Suffice to say, when all of this happened, was my opportunity to leave. I would normally, before, be the one to go and hunt down deserters and try and convince them that Lilith's path was a better one. And when they didn't, I would remove them from the equation.
This is right.
It was my job.
It is possible to leave. You just have to do it in a time before all the tracking was as easy, and fall into the arms of a prince that promises you everything in return for information.
It's more difficult when you're in the employ of an archbishop.
Indeed. I think the higher ranking you are, the more difficult it becomes.
Praise Cain indeed.
You mentioned salt mines. These ring a bell, given my former stint with the Inquisition.
There is, at least in Alice Springs, a salt mine there. However, the Second Inquisition never really paid any mind. It's been abandoned.
Have I been to this mine before?
No. There's no reason to.
So strange that they haven't turned up. and that this sarcophagus was empty. Was there anything else interesting about it? The fact that it was there, sitting there in the salt mines, surely is something.
Yep.
It looks unused.
Unused.
Yeah. When you were both telling the story to us, you opening it was an event that caused the soil to bleed, and that didn't happen either this time.
Is that metaphorical bleeding?
No.
I'm curious.
You would pick up the soil and it was bleeding.
Is this the house? You notice like the van has started to
Yeah.
slow down.
Yeah, this is the one. Thank you.
Okay. And Ilona parks the car right at the driveway of this house.
Before I get out, I want to scan the road and make sure that there's nothing out of place, no newly parked vehicles that look suspicious.
Nothing. The whole area seems almost dead.
I think it's safe. Please be welcome in my home. Our
Welcome
home.
to enter a property. We really are going back to the old stories tonight.
I've had friends who have to be invited, so
Appreciated.
You have to be invited?
It's a little embarrassing.
I've heard worse.
Since the old country. Oh, fascinating.
It's got to be all polite about it.
Yeah.
Wow. What happens if you're not?
there were a couple of nights where he just
Yeah.
stood on the doorstep. It was funny. It was.
Yeah, funny. Oh,
Your daughter is a cold bitch. I love it.
he's a sweet child.
Well,
You know, how have things been?
Same as always. Do have new decoration.
Have to show me.
Of course. Always. It's a very different one this time.
You haven't been giving Coraline a hard time, have you?
Of course not. And this immediately all of you clock in is a total lie.
Stupid question anyway.
So what is the time?
It's currently approaching 4 a.m.
Okay. What time is sunrise?
Sunrise is 5.
Okay.
I'm going to look at you and just be like, do you feel that?
Well, gotta get out of its hateful rays somewhere.
I guess it's here on the plane.
In for a penny?
Go on then. Show us around.
I'll start to give it a little bit of a rushed tour, but just, the general front room, kitchen area. But then I will take you to the room with the trapdoor.
Secret dungeon? This will be interesting.
Have you been here before?
I actually don't know. Storyteller, have I been here before?
No.
Okay, no.
No. Before we continue, why have you kept so much of this from your brother, as you say?
Like I said, some things needed to happen as close to when they did before as possible. We came to this all together. He's been doing his own thing.
And how does that make you feel?
Look, I can actually sympathise. I mean, this is not the kind of conversation you want to be having multiple times. Well, we all have our own things, and the honesty is here and now.
But you do preach honesty, transparency.
And yet this is what we are now seeing, yes. It doesn't mean that we don't have our own personal things.
Indeed. This does seem very personal to you, though. Like it would be something that you should know. I'm just making a note.
To the best of my knowledge, we've both been working to secure our own places. And like I said on the plane, this is when we came together and started this path, this journey of the mysteries. So I'm trying to keep things as similar or symmetrical as possible so that if there's any changes, I can kind of see what's going on. I don't know if this is going to all start again, and I've already gone through one lot of loss, and while I've learned from it, I want to know that I'm making repeatable mistakes so that I can learn from them and I can see patterns. If I can see patterns, then I can make changes. And if I can make changes, then maybe I can get it right one time.
That is reasonable.
One time. You say that as if this is a repeating cycle.
Well, this cycle is already repeated once that I know of. I don't know if it's repeated for anybody else. I don't know if it's going to repeat again. But in the event that it does, I want to negate as much cause for misinterpretation as possible.
Butterfly effect and all that.
Hold on. Back up a bit before all your like time travel-y thing. What trapdoor?
There's a trap door. There is.
Where?
Sense the unseen. Do I need to roll?
No.
Can we see it?
For all of you.
Oh,
You
we
all
can
can
see
see it.
Oh, okay, great. So I don't need to do
I'm
sense the unseen.
curious.
You can't see it?
No. Where is it? Like here?
I'll point to it and say, it's right here.
It's a floor. Unless there's like a secret, like hidden, like, and she starts knocking on it.
Go on, open it.
Is this an illusion that only seems to work on mortals or anything? Is there anything I'm familiar with occult-wise?
It seems to be that unless you have already been there, it won't show up for anybody else. You have to have already been in there for it to show up.
Just spitballing ideas. What if, would it count if someone was given a memory of someone who has already been there? Or do they physically, that
They
being
physically
themselves?
have to have been there.
I mean, it's a trapdoor. If you open it, then it will be obvious because it will be open. Maybe.
It's worth a shot. I don't understand why she can't see it. Okay, I'll go to open the trap
I
door.
will also activate Sense the Unseen. I want to know
Okay.
what's going on. Yeah. Yeah.
Sense the unseen,
Yeah,
Dasha, this whole place immediately lights up like a Christmas tree. All the walls, the whole structure itself, aside from the furnitures, the structure itself is just brimming with Fey energy.
Okay. I mean, you did say that we bought this from Trixie, right? Is that
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Is your friend Trixie a real estate agent?
Well, you could say that. Also, Faye, as we established, this whole place is dripping with it.
With my specialty in Fae, can I determine anything more than other than it's literally a Christmas tree of Fae shit? Can I kind of...
You gotta roll for it.
I can.
Intelligence
I
in
can do
occult, please. And if you have a specialty in Fey stuff, then +1 with that.
this. Just my hunger. Get through all the fancy dice. God damn it. There we are. That is 5. I'm not going to reroll.
With 5 successes, you would know that this is a place, like, this is a haven. This is a place that no other creatures can actually go into unless you are part of this haven itself. It's specifically made by other supernaturals aside from vampire. So either mage or fairy. Or werewolf.
So when you say part of this haven, do you mean like part of the group,
The
that
group
we're
itself.
in? So say the Camarilla people decided to drive by, they wouldn't see shit.
They wouldn't see anything.
Huh. So this place, unless you are part of those that already live here, and now this is for the whole property, was that correct?
Yes. Including the backyard with the pool and the separate granny flat. And shed with the
What would it, sorry,
driver, with the garage.
what would it look like to people just passing by?
An empty lot.
Do you know? So people outside of our little, what I hope will be a family. This is just an empty lot. And I mean, if someone were to like literally run into that empty lot, will they bang into the house? And
No, they'll pass by.
so it's kind of phased a little bit out of reality. Is my
Yes.
understanding. So this house doesn't exist in what you normally perceive as reality. It's kind of a little off to the left.
That sounds like some fae shit.
Very fey shit.
So this makes sense to you?
I suppose.
Okay.
I want to know what's in the trapdoor.
Yeah, me
I
too.
want to know why we would own a place that's dripping with fey energy.
Oh, also, wait, you're saying we've already been accepted into this because we can see it all, right?
You've been here before.
But not in this reality.
Maybe we're bound by something beyond this reality.
Ooh, okay.
Are you okay with Alona doing this?
How dangerous is this for a mortal, this house? Other than potential cookies.
Not really that dangerous. As long as the mortal is part of your group,
Okay.
it should be fine.
So it's pretty much just a cloaking device,
Yes.
or, so to speak. It's not going to be like, like an escape room full of death traps.
No. Not unless you put the death traps there.
If someone were warded against Fey stuff, would they still be able to go into the house?
Yes.
And it would not react negatively to them?
No.
Okay.
So that's a yes?
Elena, maybe you should wait up here for just a moment. Just
Uh,
and you can show me that thing you've been working on.
so I'm not allowed into the said dungeon?
Not allowed. More a case of let me just go check what's there first.
Okay, old man.
Oh, you cheeky little shit. Okay. Did I just volunteer myself to go down first by accident?
Indeed, you did.
Some
Big hop.
No.
things don't change.
Go down there, there's cookies.
Oh golly. All right. I'll head on Is it like a ladder or stairs or?
It's like a winding stone staircase going down.
Okay. Okay. I've seen horror movies. Can one of you just like hold that trapdoor open, please?
I still don't know what trapdoor it is. So.
Sure.
And you still can't see it.
Nope.
Oh, this will be interesting. Please describe what happens to him as he descends.
Yeah. And maybe we should put some like hazard tape around it, just in case I don't want to fall down the flight of stairs.
Haha. Very funny. Not really.
I'll flick my lighter and hand it.
Oh, fire.
Okay.
I'm good.
Do you want me to go down first?
Apparently I volunteered to go down first.
Okay.
I'll go down a few steps just so they can see what happens to me. Or more likely, Ilona can see what happens to me, and just to see what I can see. Or feel whatever I can feel.
Alright. Ilona, as you have requested, have started commentating. Like, my father is still there, standing, waiting. What are you waiting for? Just go down the said stairs. And as winters have started to go down, Ilona just stops and says like, well, father has disappeared.
Oh.
Wow. Can we roll bodies down there and they just go, like disappear, or?
Let's not be rolling bodies anywhere just yet.
Bodies.
I'm just gonna stick my hand up out of the... Does my hand appear?
And there is a hand. Would you like the hand cut off? Because I can easily just do that.
Is that Alona or Rena?
Does it?
Thank
Maybe
you for
both.
the asking. I'm quite sure. No, honey, but we'll find you someone to play with soon.
It's so boring.
I know. Alright, I will...
So, hiding bodies, that a issue you regularly run into?
Not really. I mean, father here can actually, well, he's not here anymore, but
I can hear you.
this embodied voice, father, usually just uses one of his, like, just uses his blood discipline thing to just make the bodies turn to ash. And we don't have to worry about cleaning up.
Well, I mean, you don't have to worry about cleaning up, but, you know.
I'm sure the dustpan and brush gets a regular workout.
Yeah, because I cannot use a Roomba.
And are these enemies of Lilith that you're cleaning up?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like whom?
Those who stay steadfast to Cain.
Fair. They should always be cleaned up. I assume you're speaking of the Sabbat.
Servants of the antediluvians.
So anyone that disagrees with you,
Steadfastly.
right?
There's a difference between, disembodied voice coming in, of those who disagree and those who are sworn by their false faith to kill us on sight. We offer our, well, not our, the mother's salvation to all. Even the Sabbat. We don't forsake them just because they have chosen that way, but if they do not accept, the only other option is to allow them to kill us, and you know, it's just... And I'm going to go down the stairs.
Yes, please tell us what you see.
What do I see?
Winters, you take a while to walk down. About 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And after a while, you finally reach the very bottom. And it opens up into this big circular room that is... At least the walls seem to be glowing. And on the roof of this circular stone room is an upside down white gummy tree with no leaves on it.
Like, growing out of the ceiling.
Growing out of the ceiling.
Okay.
And at the bottom of it is a well. When you look into the well, there's nothing in it. No water visible.
Can I see the bottom of it?
You have oblivion sight?
No.
No.
Are there any like pebbles or rocks or anything? I don't want to throw anything personal down the well. What have I actually got on my person? I'm literally like wearing some shit that I borrowed.
Yeah, that's all from running away, so it's just strangers' clothing and
Do it.
throw your sunglasses.
I hate you all. Would they be able to hear me if I shout up? Okay. And is there anything else in this room, like any doors leading anywhere? Was it just that?
No,
just a
it's
room?
just that.
You know I can't see.
Put it back on to read your sheet later. Still perfect.
Alrighty, well. Hey, where'd everyone go? I will toss these down the well.
As you toss it down, after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, there is no sound.
Shit.
Okay.
I'm not blind, I swear.
Oh my god, it's another cycle beginning.
The glasses are back.
They just keep coming back. I don't know how to get them off.
Like a fella from CSI who can like just always summon a pair
Yeah,
of
yeah,
pockets.
Yeah.
Some Tremere shit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume this well is bottomless.
Yes?
It's not just like a well of oblivion, is it?
No.
Okay. That's cool. Well, bottomless pits can be handy. I'll make my way back up to inform the what do we call ourselves? Not coterie.
Right now, guests.
Yeah.
Inform the guests.
You took one step up that staircase and you could immediately hear all of them talking. And after 2 more steps, you are immediately back up where you came from.
While Winters
So
has
as
been
opposed to long
Yes.
trip, just a couple of steps.
Mhm.
That is so efficient.
While Winters is there, I'll be talking to the other two and saying, so I had quarters prepared for you. Do you need to drink?
Wouldn't say no. It's been a long night.
What would be your preference?
Oh, we have options.
If memory serves, and this may have changed, someone who would be amenable to feeling happy and someone who no, I don't think that's right. You've both changed. What would you like?
Where are they coming from? Are they part of your flock?
They are, and they give themselves willingly.
I think I'd like to meet them first.
Of course.
Let's go for someone a little older, someone who's been involved for a while.
Yes.
Excellent. We'll wait for Brother Winters to come back.
As you point out to where this trapdoor is, you would notice that Ilona is currently on her, like, laying down on the floor, just staring to where the space is, where Winters have disappeared, unblinkingly. And Winters, as you have walked up, you would see just Ilona just staring wide-eyed at you, unblinking.
Oh, you okay?
You're just ahead.
It's like that guy from, what was that show? Power Rangers. It's just a floating head. No? Okay.
You should try a different joke.
Forgive my abruptness, but sunrise is coming, and our guests have asked if they could meet some of the flock and talk with longer-term members, perhaps.
Of course. By the way, downstairs, are you aware there's a tree growing through the ceiling? And a well that doesn't appear to have a bottom.
Yes.
I'm not getting those sunglasses back, am I?
No. It was in a vision that previous Dasha had.
Oh, and by the way, the trip back up, just a couple of steps, and so I'm going to guess reality doesn't kind of function like we're used to here,
Interesting.
which makes sense. Face shit.
So you came back in one piece.
Just touch your butt.
No, I'm sitting on that.
Okay.
Oh wait, was that Rena or?
This is kind of concerning when my characters are blurring into my actual
I was thinking of
person.
blurring. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So this tree, I had a vision about it.
And we saw it in the place that we went with the trials, a maze.
Labyrinth.
Labyrinth, yeah.
Right. Well, yes. Let's go and have a look then.
Can I go with?
And
Don't know. Can you?
Oh, I'll go with.
You could take her hand.
yeah. Yeah. Let's see if-
Nothing bad ever comes of holding on to somebody as you go through a portal.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Neither do I.
I don't know
Yeah.
what to do.
Ilona holds your cold hands with her warm ones, and all of you step in.
Yeah. Step on through.
And can she come down?
Yes. She passes through with kind of like a quick jolt, like, oh. That's a different feeling. Strange.
What did it feel like?
Splash of cold water.
Huh.
Huh?
I had a friend who had a trick like that.
You
She
can't
dead?
remember it.
She's not with us anymore.
Oh, she's dead.
Probably. Shall we?
Continue on. And it takes 5 minutes of walking down this time. After 5 minutes, you finally reach the round circular stone room and all of you can see this white gummy tree just growing from the ceiling. It doesn't have any leaves at all.
That's a neat trick.
And at the bottom of it is the circular
Well,
bottomless pit.
Wow.
Do I still have sense the unseen?
Yes.
That's not something you see every day.
Anything interesting? Anything else?
With Sense the Unseen, this whole area itself is just glowing.
More Fae magic? Or
No.
No?
It's a different color and something you haven't encountered before.
Interesting.
Especially with this tree. It's just concentrated bright light. You almost have to look away from it.
All right. What about down the well?
Down the well, it's just nothing.
Nothing.
No light at all.
Oblivion, no light at all? Or just no light at all?
Just no light.
If I was to reach up, could I touch the tree?
Yes. One of the branches is low hanging, though there is no leaves at all right now.
But I could touch the
You could
twig
touch
of the branch. I'm going to touch the tree.
Or should you? Are you sure you should be?
I'm going to roll up my sleeves. And you will see something there if you want to look at it. But I'm going to reach up and just touch it at first. Anything?
As Dasha reaches up, all of you can see a number 7 scar on her arm.
How long have you had that for?
What?
The number.
The number?
It's the number 7.
I suppose if you look at it that way. As long as I can remember, at least since I was embraced.
One
Since
of
you
them.
were embraced.
Yes.
Hmm.
What?
Tattoo appeared on my arm the night I was embraced. Sire wouldn't tell me anything of it.
Show me. That's one of our symbols.
Oh, come on. Really?
As in a Bahari sign, code.
We use
whatever?
symbols to designate safe areas and where people shouldn't go and that sort
Which
of
am
thing.
I?
That's the symbol for the sun.
So a place you shouldn't go. Always been curious about that.
And 7 was the name of one of the mages.
You mentioned with those mages that 8 was the Camarilla coteries. Was 7 yours, ours?
The Inquisitions. Basically a child, naive.
It's about their speed.
So that leaves. Well, you said one was. Well, you said one was childlike. You said one was chaotic and one was evil, which I suppose leaves us. Such as we are. Oh, this is all too much. With the chaotic one.
Correct.
Should I assume they were also named for a number?
There were 9.
Did 7, 8, 9?
And we go off about my jokes.
I got it from you. Don't blame me about.
Don't ever joke about those names in my presence again.
Touchy, touchy.
Can I do a wits and insight on
Yeah.
that reaction?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
get in on that action.
Everyone's doing
Yeah.
it.
That is more emotions than this one has demonstrated in our presence ever in this timeline.
Touchy, touchy.
That's quite good. 5.
5.
4.
4.
I should not have thrown those glasses down the well. That is 1.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, 2. That's a 7, not a 1. So 2.
Okay, Dasha and
Level
Lorna.
Oh.
Winters doesn't have an idea again.
Are they looking at
Once
something?
again, Winters has no clue.
Oh my. Some timelines never change.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey,
That is a trans-dimensional bottle of dumb bitch juice.
Yep.
Okay. Dasha and Lorna, you would notice that this is a very extremely sensitive topic for Alice. Most likely, she was very close, or most likely all of you were very close to one of them. And there might be some truth to it that the chaotic one died.
I'm sorry, sister. She didn't know.
I'm sorry for my reaction. It was uncalled for.
Was it uncalled for or simply unintended? That
She's a
seems like
child.
it cut close to the bone.
She's a child. She didn't know.
Should we know?
Don't apologize for feeling the pain.
I'm not apologising for feeling the pain. I'm apologising for making someone else learn the lesson from my pain.
You say that as if 9 suffered because of something you did?
Something we did.
What did we do?
Failed to protect her. And brought her to a place where she was not safe. Essentially delivered her into the hands of the person who killed her.
And forgive me for prying. Who killed her?
The Camarier's mage. 8.
8. That is unfortunate.
Do I notice, I was paying close attention to the gold band on her finger as she says that.
Yes. Alice has been playing on the gold band ever since she started talking about the chaotic one.
Just gonna put that away for later. I believe somebody was touching a tree.
Yeah.
There we go.
And Dasha, as you touch the tree, you are assaulted by a vision.
What do I see?
You see yourself, actually.
As I am now?
No. You see yourself a different you. In something similar to this room. However, the tree is upright. It's not growing from the ceiling, it's from the ground. And you cannot hear what you are saying, but there is you, there was Lorna, and there's Alice, and there's an individual you haven't seen before who just looks simply unhinged. And you, as you say something, you take out a dagger and you run yourself through towards the tree. And with that, you feel itself, you yourself now, feel that dagger just striking through, piercing through. And then there was nothing but darkness and a voice on your ear saying, "Come home, child."
Who are you? Can I respond? Does any words come out?
Yes?
Do I recognize the voice?
It sounded like several different women of all ages speaking all at once.
Oh.
But it filled you with fear, awe, all these emotions you haven't felt before.
Who are you?
Come home, child.
Okay. Mother? I'll do my best.
Suddenly you're back.
Well, that was something.
Are you
There are
worried?
blood tears streaming down your face.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they knew the.
Thank you. I wouldn't recommend touching the tree. Alice,
What did you see?
I saw exactly as you described. Turns out this other me did like to take things into her own hands. And I heard a voice. Needless to say, you have me convinced. It told me to come home, but it was many voices.
She spoke to you.
It sounded feminine, I suppose. I felt it more than I heard it. Yes. Well. Ahi hi, whatever, I guess. Let's go. Unless you want to touch a tree.
You did just advise against it, and in matters of arcane fuckery, which this rather has the scent of, I'll defer to a Tremere.
Very smart.
There's the truth we've been talking about then.
You mentioned a sacrifice of humanity to gain, regain, transfer memory.
I'm willing to pay that if you want to learn something.
What difference does it make who pays the price?
If you're not 100% certain, why pay full fare?
Who can afford it?
I've already lost everything that connects me to humans, bar one thing.
Dare I ask?
It's a tale for another night, I think.
I'll pay this fare.
I'll pick up the next tab. And I just put my hand on your forehead.
And as Alice, you touch Lorna. Lorna, the moment Alice touches you, your left arm just started to burn. Unbearable pain you haven't felt before. And suddenly you're not there.
Where am I?
You're back at the start of this whole labyrinth. At least that's what you can remember. The start of this labyrinth where all of you are looking down at the tablet that says there can only be one. And there's just one door that says Messiah. And it won't open for anybody else. What was Lorna's thinking at that moment?
Ouch, ooh, ow, ow, fuck, my arm, ouch, ow. But also, where's Alice gone? How are we going to make it through this labyrinth? What even are we doing here? We have a reason for being here, but we have no plan as to how we're going to make it through other than some vague promises from a vague girl. Also, ouch, ow, fuck, this really hurts.
And suddenly you're pulled into a different area of this labyrinth where you are crawling away from a battle towards the safety. Where what you recognize as 9 is telling you to just go, please. What were you thinking of?
Alice isn't going to take this well. Nine is losing this battle. Also, 9 has, if I'm remembering, if I am remembering correctly, just told us what happened to Winters, and I am simultaneously deeply upset at losing a comrade and directly pissed off at him for doing something so fucking stupid.
You feel that, you feel those emotions as the you in this labyrinth runs through the door that closes behind you, and suddenly you're back. You're back in this circular room with a tree growing from the ceiling, and your arm is there. It's no longer burning. You notice, Lorna, that the black on on your fingertips have started to grow. And it's now up to your palm. At least on your left hand.
What did you
meant
see?
a lot to you, didn't she?
Yes.
Saw that loss that I think you were talking about.
I think you might have seen some of it. Are you all right?
Better than I was in that memory.
I'm sorry. I don't choose the memories that come through.
If we follow you down this path of again working together for each other, for Lilith, for whatever it is, we're going to experience that pain again, aren't we?
Maybe not exactly the same, but existence is pain. Pain is growth. We learn through it if you're listening to it properly.
And with that somber note, we end this chronicle, at least for the Bahari's point of view, and for the rest of the chronicle of Red Center by Night. Once again, my name is Rena, and I've been the storyteller for this chronicle.
I'm Tara. I've been playing Lorna, just a completely armless toreador.
Oh, God. I'm Melissa, and I've been playing Alice Barr, our Nosferatu what the fuck?
What the fuck?
I'm Sophie. I've been playing Dasha von Lang. I'll Tremere something.
I'm Matt. I've been playing Deacon Winters, who is now our La Sombra. Come back for season 2.
Yes, we're closing down the story at least for this season. Come back for season 2. And with that, we bid you goodbye and ahi hi Lily too.
Ahi hi Lilatu.
Hey.
Bye.